Chapter 5, Belonging. It was Sunday night, and Miss Winston sat next to Uncle Olaf at the table. It was her first meal with the Larsons. Aunt Inger and Mama had made a big dinner to welcome her. They'd even baked ginger cookies, just like at Christmas. My parents have a lovely home on a harbor in Maine, Miss Winston said. There's a small room on the top. It has windows on all four sides. When my father is at sea, we watch for his ship from that room. What a fine room that must be, Anna said. She was the only one talking to Miss Winston. Uncle Olaf offered everyone more rabbit stew. Mama kept busy cutting and passing bread. Why did you want to leave? Why did you want to leave such a lovely home? Anna asked. She was so excited to have Miss Winston there that she'd forgotten all about her supper. Well, I certainly wasn't ready to marry and spend the rest of my life in a house, Miss Winston said. I wanted to travel, to meet people, to have adventures. School teachers travel, so I decided to become a teacher. Maybe you will be a teacher when you grow up, Anna. You've been a good little teacher for Kirsten. Kirsten kept her eyes on her tin plate. With Miss Winston at the table, it seemed she'd forgotten all the English she'd ever learned. And what if Mama or Papa said something to Miss Winston about the poem Kirsten said she had memorized? Miss Winston would say Kirsten hadn't done it. Kirsten's head ached at the thought. Anna said, "Does your father sail on a ship every day?" Miss Winston smiled. "No, Anna, he isn't a fisherman. He has a big ship for carrying heavy cargo. He sails down the coast with a load of wool. Then he sails back with a load of tobacco. I might want to be a sailor," Lars said. "Life is exciting on a ship." Miss Winston looked at Lars. "Would you like to see my father's ship?" "Yeah," Lars said. Then he read it and corrected himself. "Yes, ma'am." Then after a meal, "I'll show you a surprise," Miss Winston said. "Eat, Anna," Uncle Olaf commanded. "You'll get thin if you don't pay attention to your dinner." After everyone had finished eating, Miss Winston left the table. She climbed a ladder to the loft where she put her things. In a moment, she was back with a bottle in her hand. She set the bottle on its side in the middle of the table. Everyone leaned forward to look. Inside the bottle was a model of a three-masted ship. "This ship looks just like my father's," said Miss Winston. Kirsten drew in a sharp breath. It looks just like the eagle, too," she said. Kirsten drew a sharp breath. It looks just like the eagle, too." Miss Winston handed Kirsten the bottle so she could get a better look. Now she saw the ship closely. "The ship we sailed on to America looked just like this one. It was called the Eagle. We sailed for 10 weeks. There were terrible storms. Everyone was sick. 6 people died on the ship, and the sailors buried them at sea." She stopped, breathless, surprised at how many words she had just blurted out in English. Miss Winston pressed her forefinger to her lips and looked closely at Kirsten. "You remember the ship clearly, don't you?" "Oh, yes. My friend Marta and I played on the deck," Kirsten said. "Ah!" Miss Winston exclaimed. "You've given me an idea, Kirsten." In school the next day, Miss Winston came to Kirsten's side right after the first song. She handed Kirsten a piece of paper. Kirsten sat up straight, her heart thudding. Miss Winston never gave out paper. "Here's another poem for you, Kirsten. I want you to memorize it instead of the first one I gave you," Miss Winston said. "It's 4 lines from a long poem about a man who was a sailor all his life. When you spoke of your trip on the Eagle, I thought you might like these lines. Can you read them?" Miss Winston's writing was as perfect as the writing in a book. Kirsten held the paper in both hands and read slowly but clearly. "Swiftly, swiftly flew the ship, yet she sailed softly too. Sweetly, sweetly blew the breeze, on me alone it blew." As she read, Kirsten could almost feel the ocean wind on her face and taste the salt spray on her lips, and she missed Marta. You read that well, Kirsten. Do you think you, could memorize these lines?" Miss Winston asked. Kirsten nodded. She hoped that if she forgot any words, she could imagine the eagle and the words would come back to her. I'll try, she said. Miss Winston bent down until her eyes were level with Kirsten's. You will try and you will succeed. Remember that, please. But she went to open the door of the iron stove so Amos could put in more wood to heat the classroom. Because Kirsten and her family ate dinner at Uncle Olaf's house now, it was impossible for Kirsten to meet Singing Bird at their usual time in the evening, and there was never enough time in the morning. But on Wednesday, Kirsten managed to leave a tiny doll made of yarn for her friend. After school, she found a piece of blue and white beadwork in its place. She thought it would make a beautiful headband for Sari. Beside the beads, Singing Bird had drawn a full sun in the sand. She wanted Kirsten to come early in the morning to meet her. Sadly, Kirsten drew a cross through the drawing to tell Singing Bird that she couldn't come. When would she be able to meet her friend again? On Friday, Kirsten whispered to Miss Winston that she was ready to recite her verse. Her chest ached and her stomach fluttered, but she wanted to recite before she forgot the poem. Miss Winston held up her hand and told everyone to be still. Kirsten Larson will now recite. Please come forward, Kirsten. Miss Winston stepped back so that Kirsten could stand in front of the stove where everyone would see her. Slowly, Kirsten walked to the center of the room. She tried to keep her chin high, just as Miss Winston did. She saw Anna's smile and Lars's grin. Then the room seemed to blur and fade, and all she heard was the thud of her heart. You may recite now, Miss Winston said. With feeling, please. Now, Kirsten told herself, she imagined the sails of the eagle creaking overhead. She imagined seagulls swooping and diving in the wind. She imagined Marta sitting by her side on the deck. She kept her eyes closed and recited the poem without a single mistake. Swiftly, swiftly flew the ship, Kirsten said. She heard her own words clearly, as though someone else had spoken them. She kept her eyes closed and recited the poem without a single mistake. When she opened her eyes, the other students were smiling at her. Miss Winston touched her shoulder. You recited very well, Kirsten. You recited with feeling. I'm proud of you, she said. Kirsten sat down in a daze. She had stood in front of everyone and recited her poem in English. She hadn't thought she could do it, but she had. And it hadn't been so hard after all. The next time would be easier. She was sure of it. She'd been scared, but she had done it, and now Miss Winston was proud of her. Anna nudged her and said, Good for you. Elizabeth gave her a wink but said the same thing. Now it's time for reading, Miss Winston said, but Kirsten was too dizzy to read. May I fetch the water for a drink? She asked Miss Winston. Yes, Kirsten, thank you. As you walk, don't forget to take deep breaths to draw fresh air into your lungs, Miss Winston said with a smile. Kirsten seized the bucket and her shawl. Outside, the air was cold. A light dusting of snow lay on the ground. When she reached the stream, Kirsten found a thin coat of ice on the water. She broke the ice easily with a stick and dipped her bucket into the stream. As she did, she heard the whistle of a meadowlark. When Kirsten looked up, she saw Singing Bird standing among the ice-coated cattails on the other side of the stream. Hello, Kirsten said. Come, Singing Bird answered. But I can't come with you now, Kirsten said. I have to go back to school. Come, Singing Bird repeated. She crossed the stream on a fallen log. Maybe I could come after school, Kirsten said, though she wasn't sure how she could. Come now, Singing Bird replied. We go today. Kirsten grasped her friend's cold hand. Go? You're going? No, but why? No food, Singing Bird said. She pressed her hand to her stomach. Don't you have enough food? Kirsten asked. She remembered the terrible pains in her stomach when Papa's crops had failed in Sweden. She remembered how Peter had cried when there was no more bread to eat. Bad hunting, Singing Bird explained. She held up her arms as though she shot an arrow from a bow. We go to find food. Kirsten remembered what Elizabeth and Anna had told her. The wild animals were leaving the land because the settlers were building farms. The Indians didn't have enough to eat. They were leaving to find more food. Where will you go? Kirsten asked. When Papa couldn't grow enough food in Sweden, they had come here to America. Where could the Indians go to find better hunting? Singing Bird pointed west. We go there. For buffalo. For deer. Then she stroked the blonde braids which looped over Kirsten's ears. You come too, Singing Bird said. Kirsten looked at the snow-covered hill where a hawk circled in the sky. Then she looked at her friend's dark face, so close to her own. Come, sister, Singing Bird said. She took Kirsten's hand. Kirsten remembered the warm teepee where Singing Bird lived. She imagined herself sleeping by Singing Bird's side under the buffalo hides. If she lived with Singing Bird, she would be free to roam the woods all day. Brave Elk would be good to her. He was a chief, and Kirsten would be his yellow-haired daughter. She and Singing Bird would always be together. But how could Kirsten leave her own parents, her brothers, her cousins? How could she leave the cabin under the pines? If she didn't come back home, Mama and Papa will be wild with worry. They would think she was lost. They might even think she'd been killed, and they would never give her permission to go with Singing Bird. No, I can't come with you, Kirsten said. I want to come, but this is my home. I can't leave my home, Kirsten said. Singing Bird looked down sadly. She reached into the pouch she wore around her waist and took out her bow needle. She gave it to Kirsten. Kirsten closed her hand around the bow needle. Will you come back, Singing Bird? Singing Bird shook her head. If deer come back, she said. Oh, please do come back, Kirsten said. I'll be here, right here. You can find me easily. Whistle for me by the stream. If deer come back, Singing Bird repeated. She touched Kirsten's braid one last time. Then she ran back to the fallen log and crossed the stream. She waved from the edge of the pine forest before she disappeared into the snow-covered trees. Kirsten watched her friend go. She imagined Singing Bird's tribe hungry, wandering, looking for food. Where would they go? How far would they have to travel before they could set up their village again? Now Kirsten understood that if the settlers made a home here, the Indians would have to find a new home. She filled her water bucket and trudged slowly back to the school. She pushed open the door to the warm room. Miss Winston looked up from her place by the stove. You've been gone a long time, Kirsten. I thought you'd found that ship in your poem and sailed back to Sweden. No, ma'am, Kirsten said softly. She knew it was a joke, but she was too sad to smile. She slipped her hand into her pocket and touched the bow needle. How she would miss Singing Bird. Miss Winston smiled, though. I left something for you. It's in your reader, she said. Kirsten looked around the cozy room crowded with busy children. She wasn't sure when this place had become around, but she belonged here now. Her reader lay on the bench waiting for her. Will you help me again? She asked Anna. Yes, Anna said gladly, as she always did, and made room on the bench. Kirsten sat down and opened her book.